Tony Selzer here. Welcome to the line. You know, I get really excited when I get to talk to some other subject matter experts that are doing some cool, cutting things in one of my favorite spaces, sports marketing. And Chris Chaney with Chaney Sports Marketing is really, I mean, I've just kind of goofed on him about, like, he's done one of my favorite projects ever in the Nitro Sports Circus. And I know I got that name butchered, but Chris, how did you get into this? I mean, how did you get into the sports marketing arena?
That's great. Thanks for the intro, Tony, and thanks for having me. Much appreciated. Actually, it started in college. I've always been, as many people, a big sports nut, and had an interest in a lot of different sports, whether it's soccer or basketball, track and field, and beyond. And I had a chance one summer to intern in New York for the New York Knicks, and that was a really great experience. I almost fell into it by accident, and decided with that, and then some of the work I was doing on campus with the our men's basketball, spend some more time on and really exploring and determining what kind of career opportunities are there. And one thing led to the next. So for me, it's been very much about starting with an interest in sports, and then using that interest to do some internships, garner some experiences, which ultimately lead to building great relationships, and then turning those into opportunities.
And you know, those relationships go back in the NBA, and I know I don't want to drop that name for you, but then that extends into, like, into the your own company. When did you get that? When did you get that entrepreneurial bug?
Well, I'd like to say I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, at least. Sometimes you need a bit of a nudge to follow to follow your entrepreneurial dreams. And like you said, I started at the NBA, working in global marketing partnerships, which is a group that manages all of the NBA's global partners. And that was an exciting opportunity, and ultimately helped me realize that I needed to be an entrepreneur. There was a lot that I wanted to do in and around sports, which really you can't necessarily do in a corporate environment, especially as a younger person. And while I have so much energy and really the excitement to build something, I wanted to start out on my own, and become a one man operation, and follow my entrepreneurial dreams. And that was almost that was almost 8 years ago now. And it's been a wonderful a journey of ups and
Yeah.
downs.
Manic
Just the
depressiveness
true
of
entrepreneurial path.
owning your own business, right? I mean, it's the highs and the lows.
Absolutely.
So you,
Absolutely.
but you've done some really cool work, and I dropped this
Thank you.
before, but I mean, really, you guys are embracing not only this niche sport movement, but also this content, you know, machine, if you will, and how that plays through the social graph. And these three intersections are coming together, and you guys have capitalized on that, or you're seeking to capitalize on, and you're helping brands do that. You're helping these brands do that too. And that's a pretty, you know, it's bleeding edge, which sometimes is dangerous, right? Being on the cutting edge is one thing, being on the bleeding edge is, and you know what I'm talking about. So, but talk to me about where you see the vision of this industry going, and how they're going to leverage this social graph, the channel, you know, that is being talked about every day. But a lot of companies are really, especially big companies, are clueless on how to do so.
Absolutely. Well, the great thing about the world that we live in today is that it's become more of a level playing field, no pun intended, but especially through social media and the way that we interact in our personal lives with one another. And we're so connected through devices, our tablets, our phones, or, it's not even email anymore. It goes way beyond that. And what that has allowed is that some of these niche properties and also niche brands are able to reach their target consumers in now a really effective and in a very direct way that really
Right.
wasn't able to that they really weren't able to do before, Or before, you had to have major marketing dollars. You had to put ads on TV during the Super Bowl and spend millions of dollars. But nowadays, through the power of social media and the way that we're connected every single day, you can be a small brand, you can be a small non-traditional sport and reach millions of people all across the country and all across the world through the power of social media. And that's Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest, and the list goes on and on and on.
Right,
And that
right.
has really leveled the playing field, which has allowed upstart and emerging brands, as well as upstart and emerging sports properties, whether that's CrossFit, obstacle racing, even to an extent mixed martial arts, to now penetrate the market at a great pace, and really covering the landscape here in the US, but also internationally. So it's almost like it's gotten democratized in a way that we've never seen before. And that's exciting for me. And that's the world that I live in working with some of these non-traditional sports and entertainment properties and brands.
Yeah, I think the truth is like, what you've been able to identify is if somebody's creating good content, and good is all relative, right? I mean,
Mhm.
if you're not into parkour, you may not like to watch it, but if you're at least interested and intrigued and you start to search for it, people are finding their audiences, and that's the democratization you spoke to the internet brings. And then when you add social to that, to light a fire under behind that, where like people like similar things and they start to share that, and then you create a viral co-factor that everybody likes to talk about. But when you take those two things and you bring them together, you can put a powerful mechanism behind a brand. I mean, if you think about what the beautiful thing Red Bull has done. I mean, are they in the business of creating a drink that really most people don't like the taste of, or are they in the business of building a content machine? And when you think about what their brand is today, I don't know. I mean, it remains to be seen what their actual product is, and I think that's really where we're headed. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And Red Bull is such a great example because they've been phenomenal content producers. And sometimes to your point, we forget that they're actually selling energy drinks because we see them doing everything from X Fighters to Red Bull Air Race to, I mean, even Formula One, which is considered the king of motorsports. I mean, Red Bull has it has a lot of outlets, and it's producing some of the best content in the world that has also given them
Right.
a lot of awards, a lot of recognition by traditional content producers. And again, the lines have become a little blurry as to what Red Bull actually is. But the great thing about it is ultimately it's building the brand. Whether you know Red Bull, and you might not know them as an energy drink brand. You might know them as one of the first and foremost content producers of really edgy content, of really content that's pushing the envelope, and that's really exciting. To your point, to expand that as far as content is concerned, the great thing also nowadays is there's so much user generated content. It's not just about the content that a Red Bull or a Nitro Circus creates. It's you and me out in the backyard trying to do some flips and tricks and falling on our behinds or on our noses, and we put that online, and people share it, and people commented on it and watch it, and that helps in turn the brand that sort of started it, right? That still has a
Yep.
connection to it, and that's the great thing too. There's so much user generated content that ultimately helps a brand in its own efforts to penetrate the market and get a lot of brand recognition.
I mean, I think you said it, and I just want to reiterate it. It's like they really started a movement, and everybody's capitalized on that. And the point is that movement allows them to go into other things. I mean, they can step their foot in a lot of different products and bring that brand and that following with them, and their cost of acquisition, their cost of market is going to be so much lower than any other company in it. And I think that's part of what they've been able to do because they built that. I mean, we got 30 seconds. So what's the one thing you would tell somebody that you want, if they're out there trying to understand, what sport do they want to associate themselves with? How do they get engaged? How do they get involved? What's the first step do they take?
Well, I'd say, as we've been talking about, content is king. You have to understand where you find your consumers, and open and expand your horizon. You have the quote unquote couch potatoes that participate in obstacle racing, rolling through the mud and drinking a cold one afterwards. Nowadays you can reach your consumers in a variety of ways. Think outside of the box, think beyond football and basketball, think CrossFit and mixed martial arts and obstacle racing, think arm wrestling. There's such a there's so many different ways, because of this democratization, because of this even playing field in how you can reach your consumers, and explore all the different ways and create content in the process. Find the consumers where they live, where they're at home, and bring content to them that they get excited about, that they share, that they want to interact with, and look at it in really it's a diversity. It's multi-channel, omni-channel. It's about getting to the consumer in a variety of ways, and it doesn't have to be expensive. But the
No.
underlying fundamental is there has to be a content-driven mechanism, and I think that will lead to, and can, and has been proven to lead to, a lot of success.
Yeah. Chris, thanks so much for being on the show. It was great having you.
Thanks for having me, Tony. Much appreciated.